We are hosting an upcoming Fail Lab, a Minnesota Rising Fail Lab, Failing into the Future is what we've called it. And we are beginning to explore a variety of different topics, this being the first one, thinking about a World Cafe conversation that we hosted last year around this topic of millennial leadership, different by design. Asking young people how it is that the world is changing and how we are changing and the way in which we're making change happen is changing. We found some really interesting themes around the fact that young people are creating different expectations for themselves than perhaps their parents or current societal leaders would hold in terms of how it is that we participate in the workforce, what it is that we will buy or won't buy, or put off because perhaps we're a bit in debt. But that the way we're responding and wanting to participate also is changing, whether that's micro giving or micro volunteering, and that we are looking for a variety of ways to participate that may not be with just one organization, as some people have done in the past, but that allow us to feed the whole of ourselves from the different organizations or activities that we engage in. And that begs this question of what other things should we be noting that is changing about the world that will require us to have a different set of leadership skills than perhaps has been introduced or taught in the past. So we're looking to host these learning labs to, first of all, surface what it is that we need to be learning how to do differently, but then also providing ways in which we can have conversations about these topics and also practice them together. I think part of the vision of Minnesota Rising is that we could continue to move up individually in our careers, up the ladders, and know that we would eventually perhaps have to participate in the system in the way that it currently exists in order to succeed. But that if we band together, we might be able to have the conversation before we get to those current positions of leadership, and in fact agree that there's a different way by which we want to engage in leadership. And so these labs will allow us the opportunity to explore how that looks around specific skill sets. Failing is this first topic that we're addressing. Minnesota Rising has, for our last unconference, our theme was around expansive leadership, leveraging expansive leadership for our Minnesota. And I think we want to, again, invite everyone into this conversation. We want to acknowledge that the more people we have involved in leading Minnesota and our communities, the better. We know our demographics are changing. We know that we'll look a lot different in future years than what this place currently looks like, and that we will need every single person to contribute in whatever way makes sense for them. The more expansive and welcoming and inviting and accepting that we can be of everyone, the better off we'll be to be able to meet that purpose. So the idea of failure and the fear associated with it kicks us, I think, into a sense of constriction or becoming smaller. When we're fearful, we become timid. We shrink into ourselves. We're afraid of moving. It's sort of that fight or flight response. And if we can't flee, we need to, stay where we are, perhaps, and become immobilized. And that won't serve us. It won't serve us individually to be afraid, and it won't serve us as a collective community, because it will leave many of us unable to reach our potential, to be able to continue moving down a path toward the kind of community that we want to see. And so at this upcoming Fail Lab, we're looking to talk about the idea of bouncing back from rejection, to explore how we can indeed derive value from failure, to explore the lessons that have come from that personally and across our state's history, and then actually spend time in small groups actively practicing failing, so that it's less risky than might actually be a real scenario, But we have this hunch that becoming desensitized to failure can happen if we are constantly failing in very small ways through playing games like Jenga or trying to fill out maps of the world where we perhaps haven't thought about those topics for a number of years. So we'll do that all in community, and then we'll explore this idea of failure so that folks can talk about it, can share their stories, can unearth things that have perhaps caused them pain in the past, but hopefully have been able to be things that have served as benchmarks for when they've grown and when we've, all seen that we were able to become better people or stronger as a result of a shortcoming in the past.